All right, folks, hello and welcome back to Online English Class. Hope you guys are doing well today. Today, we are going to finish the process of considering the focus points for your quarter four essay. All right, prior to the due date, which is on the final day of school, tomorrow, May 22nd. All right, before we get into that process, let's quickly talk through the top of the week announcements. First and foremost, when you're done with your work for the semester, you need to make sure that you return all of your books to my room. If you do not do so, you will be charged, okay? Beyond that, you need to make sure that you are continuing your discussion grade procedure on a daily basis and that you remember that your quarter four essay needs to be submitted either today, May 21st, or tomorrow, May 22nd. If you submit it late, then you will incur a late penalty. If it's on the 23rd, 1 letter grade off. The 24th, 2 letter grades off. The 25th, 3 letter grades off. The 26th, 4 letter grades off. 27th will be a 0. Okay, so you need to make sure you're keeping up with that and you are responsible to turn your essay in on time. If you do not, that will harm your grade very significantly, okay? So let's return to our essay prompt. Now for the honors and the regular prompt, we've already worked through a number of the focus points associated with writing a successful essay in response to this prompt, okay? We've already discussed the importance of following the writing and editing process, specifically looking at generating ideas about the prompt that take account of all of the basic details, the idea at stake in the prompt, and the style prescriptions for the essay itself. We talked about making sure that your thesis statement, your central claim, is properly placed, clearly stated, and defensible. We talked about the process of constructing body paragraphs that feature topic sentences, evidence, and commentary that support the line of reasoning, not the ling of reasoning, established in the thesis. We also discussed the process of establishing a logical organizational pattern that supports the thesis. And finally, yesterday, we discussed how to deploy your research skills, identifying sources that are related to the research task, seeking out and finding reliable resources that are in that category of related resources, and then directly citing, paraphrasing, and summarizing those sources when appropriate, synthesizing sources into the analysis or argument effectively, and finally, evaluating how effective that source was in supporting your overall claim. Today, in conclusion, we are going to talk about following the essential elements of MLA formatting and citation, and also displaying the ability to effectively introduce quotations from the text or an outside text that is grammatically correct and also coherent. Okay, so the first thing that we want to deal with is MLA formatting. You are going to be graded according to the extent to which your essay follows the recommended formatting for MLA. All right, for an MLA research paper. Now, MLA is not the only way to structure a research paper or an academic document. You can also follow APA, or there's a thing called Chicago-Turbanian style. There are a number of different styles, but in English classes, typically MLA is used. It doesn't mean it's the only important one. It doesn't mean it's the only one that you should learn. It's the one that you learn in English class because it's used in English form or English studies. All right. So if we want to learn more about the MLA formatting and style, we can go to this place called Purdue OWL. You can Google Purdue OWL MLA style. It will take you to this website. All right, and on this website, there is a number of different tabs that you can click on to explain how a document should be formatted according to the MLA. One important tab that you ought to look at is their entry about how to cite books, a variety of different kinds of books, correctly. All right. Now there's the basic book format. There's the book with one author, book with more than one author, 2 or more books by the same author, book by a corporate author or organization, book with no author, a translated book, which you have. All right. Sheila Fisher is a translator. An edition of a book, an anthology or collection, a work in an anthology. What about we're scrolling down, what about an introduction? Anybody citing an introduction in their essay? Well, there is a specific way that you cite an introduction, which is its own separate document from the Canterbury Tales. It's different than the Canterbury Tales. The introduction is not a part of the Canterbury Tales. It's its own separate document, even though it's connected to it. So you need to cite the introduction. All right. What about a textbook by a variety of authors. Okay, that is also there's also an entry in for that kind of book, right? So you want to make sure that you are finding the kind of book that you are citing and that you are following the structure that is offered to you, right down to the punctuation mark, right? The comma after the last name, in between the first name, a period afterwards, the title of the book, period, who published it, comma, when it was published. All right, so that's the basic format, and obviously that format is riffed on or changed a little bit according to the specific kind of document that you are working with. Okay, so for all of your MLA formatting needs, Purdue OWL is the way to go. All right, so basic observations of this document according to whether or not it follows MLA formatting. Okay, so first of all, do we have our header? Yes. How do we get that? Well, we go to our document tab. If you're in Pages, obviously it's a little bit different in Word, but it's a similar kind of concept. You need to go to some kind of option pad, and then you click on this button that says header. You go to the header, you type your last name here in the header, and then you put a space and you hit the insert, and you hit insert page number. Now, on every page of your document, you're going to have last name 1, last name 2, last name 3. It's gonna put the page number in there for you. Okay. Now, this font is different than this font, and that looks unprofessional. So let's go to our format. Let's click on the font, and let's bring it back to Times New Roman, so everything is in Times New Roman. Now, the document is uniform, it looks professional, and it follows MLA formatting. All of that is nice. Okay, I've got my student name, I've got the class that I'm in, I've got the teacher that I'm writing for, I've got the date that the assignment was due. I've got my title centered in 12-point Times New Roman font, nothing fancy here. And then all of this should be, as we all should know, double spaced. So I go to my spacing, it's single. I want to go to double. I double space it, and now the essay looks the way that it should look. Okay, so I'm going to put it back to single for the sake of using this document in the future. Okay, now what about my in-text citations? Okay, well, whenever I cite from Tregilio or Briganti, I am putting their last names at the end of the words that they have written that I am citing from, and also the page number from which I pulled the quotation. Okay, if Tregilio and Briganti are mentioned in the sentence as writers already, what do I not need in my parenthetical citation? Their names. Why? Because I already said that they wrote it. Okay. Later on, I'm citing from Chaucer. Okay. So although this is Fisher's translation, it's still Chaucer's original work. So I cite Chaucer, but I cite a translated version of Chaucer. As you can see here, Geoffrey Chaucer, the Selected Canterbury Tales, translated by Sheila Fisher in 2011. Okay, so if I pull up that version of that text and I go to page 47 of that text, I should find these descriptions of the pardoner in the general prologue, which I would. Okay, so we've got our in-text citations on lock. What about our end of text? Not our in-text citations, as in in, but our end of text works cited page. All right, well, all the in-text citations, every document that is cited directly in this essay, all right, some of which have been cut out, by the way, for the sake of time. All those documents that have been cited directly in the essay are cited at the end of the text, and there's more information. Okay, so here's our citation of the World History textbook. Here's our citation of the Selected Canterbury Tales. Here's our citation of the Tregilio and the Briganti book. All right, here's a citation of a web resource. Okay, another web resource, another web resource. And another web resource. All right. So obviously you don't need this many resources. In fact, at minimum, you could have as few as 3 citations. All right. But you need to make sure that you have at least 3, and all of them are both cited correctly in the text of your essay and also at the end of your essay with a works cited page. All right. Now, should this works cited page be double spaced as well? Yes. Should there be a section called the analysis of focus points? No. All right. Ultimately, your essay will be following MLA formatting if you do all of the things that I just talked through in those last few minutes. Okay. So the final focus point that we want to talk about quickly is integrating quotations effectively in your writing. Okay, so I want to show you a couple different quote frames that are used by this author effectively. Okay, so in this paragraph, the student says, to begin, and then he introduces the speakers. Reverend Tregalio and Reverend Beginty explain in the Catholicism Answer Book, comma, and then we're going to get a full sentence. All right, an independent clause that can stand on its own. That's why we have this comma right here that is separating these two independent clauses. It tells you, it tells me who is speaking. It tells me what they're doing. They're explaining something, and then it's going to give us our entire quotation of the text here. All right, so this whole sentence is included, and then at the end of the sentence we have our period. Right, the period does not go here. Why? Because that would mean that this is its own sentence, and that's obviously not its own sentence. That would be a fragment. And it also doesn't go like this, right? That would mean that this 277 is a part of the sentence that follows, which is also not true. Okay, rather, this parenthetical citation 277 belongs in this sentence. So, normally, when you're punctuating quotation marks, you put your punctuation mark inside the quotation marks, all right? Except this one particular occasion when you are citing from an outside text and you have to offer a parenthetical citation, okay? The writer then uses another quote frame here. They continue, comma, and then another sort of full sentence, continuing their explanation. Okay. And then once again here. All right, so let me show you another kind of quote frame that we have going on in the general prologue and the Pardoner's Tale. All right, so here, early in the Pardoner's portrait, the persona narrator states that the Pardoner had, now notice, this is integrated without a comma. Now, why is there no comma there? Because this verb, the Pardoner had, is in direct relationship with what follows, okay? So this quotation is integrated into this sentence's grammatical pattern. So the persona narrator states that the Pardoner had, quote, come straight from the papal court at Rome. Citation, comma, indicating that he is meant to be read as a direct representative for the highest offices of the church, period. Now, you can put this parenthetical citation here or here at the end of the sentence. It's a matter of preference. But do you see how the student has integrated the quotation into existing syntax? He hasn't quoted a full sentence, but rather he has framed the quotation into an existing sentence, all right, that moves from the Pardoner had, quote, come straight from the papal court at Rome, and then he then explains what this indicates, all right? Very similarly, as the Pardoner's description continues, he is said to have, quote, hair yellow as wax, but thin it lay, end quote, in sentence. This image, all right, so after the quotation, we get into commentary on that quotation, and he even quotes more specific aspects of that quotation and unpacks that, the significance of that thin layer, okay, that he thought he wore the latest fashions yet, comma, which reaffirms the church's overconfidence and abundant self-righteousness, expressed through the Pardoner's overconfidence in his outer beauty to veil his inward corruption. That this is a comma splice, but otherwise, this sentence is really effective. Okay, as it integrates this quotation and then transitions with this word, which. Into discussing what this sentence or what this description means about the church of which the Pardoner is a representative. Okay, so those are some examples of quote frames. You don't just want to begin a sentence quoting. You would want to, if you want to quote a whole sentence or a complete thought, as we saw in this first paragraph, you want to frame that quotation with an introductory phrase. Reverend Tregalio and Reverend Beginty explain in the Catholicism Answer Book, comma, and then it goes on to discuss what they explain. You can also integrate your quotations into existing sentences where you don't have to quote an entire sentence, but you write a sentence that leads logically to the quoted material, and then you can even transition into analysis after that quoted material is offered. Okay, so those are examples of quote frames, a variety of kinds of quote frames, and quotes integrated into existing syntax. Okay, so some things that would be wise for you to apply to your own writing. And that concludes our work on the focus points. We'll check in briefly tomorrow for some final reminders. It'll be a brief class period, and then I'll offer some tributes to you guys as students because of my appreciation for working with you. And that will conclude our work for the year. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day.